people. So this is my second episode of SOULAMOUR, which I just started. I have another episode that got lost, my first one, but I'll post it later. Anyways, so I thought a good topic for me to discuss would be the name of my show, which is SOULAMOUR, which is soul love. So I think soul love is the most important thing that you could ever try to accomplish. It's the loving of yourself, fully and completely, all of your flaws, your whole being, everything about you, the world that you create, both inside yourself and outside yourself. I think it's the highest form of goal that everybody should have in their life, because it creates all this positivity around everybody. Everything in you becomes positive, and then everything outside of you becomes positive. It's an energy, but it's also one of the hardest things to attain, I believe. It is about knowing yourself, finding yourself, knowing what you need, knowing what you don't need, knowing who you need and who you don't need, and about creating a life for yourself that is your true being, your true essence, and it's reflected in all aspects of your life. I have to say that my own personal journey with it has been difficult, to say the least, but I feel that I've learned so much about myself. Finding yourself is really important, a really important part of loving yourself, because you can't love what you don't know. But it's also about accepting your flaws. We all have flaws, we're all imperfect, but I think that's part of what makes us beautiful people, is the flaws and the good put together in one to make this wonderful person. It's not a selfish thing. It's not narcissistic. It's not about ego. Ego, to me, I think, is one of the most unattractive things in a person. Self-love is about appreciating yourself, embracing yourself, in all ways. And by doing that, you make better decisions for yourself. You do things that create a life for yourself that just energizes you and basically creates a self-happiness. It's important to have love in your life from other people, but you can't rely on them as a source for all of your love. You can't rely on somebody in a relationship to provide you love that you think that you need, or that you feel is missing when you're not with somebody. You can't rely on the love of your family, even though it's important to have that part in your life. Again, you should not be relying on it as your ultimate source of love that you receive. And it's not about friendship and friends, and it's about you knowing and appreciating all of who you are without all of that, regardless of whether or not at some point in your life you have a relationship with somebody who really cares about you, or doesn't. You have a relationship that's going bad, or you may have a falling out with a family member, or you go and visit and it's your birthday and they're all showing you love. It's not letting those things affect you in a way where you depend on it. It's about giving yourself what you need when you need it. And it's important for you to be quiet within yourself, within your being, to hear what it is you need and to have the courage to give it to yourself. I think one of the hardest things to do in this society, living in this world, is to to be able to hear yourself, to be able to hear what it is that you need, because it comes in silence, and a lot of the world around us is not silent. A lot of the world around us is very noisy and telling us what we need, things we don't need, but society telling us we do need them, when in reality those things don't really make us happy. So I think that it's there's a couple of elements there. One of them is knowing yourself, or at least knowing yourself to an extent where you can understand your needs, and when you might be in need of something. Like if you're going through a stressful time in your life, regardless whatever the factors are, you know what it is that brings you back to yourself. You know what it is that's gonna recenter you, that's gonna focus you back on providing that energy outwards so that you can overcome this stress, or you can overcome this obstacle in your life. It's being able to take care of yourself emotionally. It's great to have friends and family to reach out to and to get things off of our chest and talk about things, but it's also important for ourselves to be able to take care of our emotional needs when those people aren't around, or when we don't feel comfortable reaching out to anybody. When you're alone, oftentimes that's when a lot of things start to come to the surface, when you're alone, because it's the quiet, it's the peace, it's the silence, and in silence so much of who we are comes out. So yeah, those are the two elements that I would suggest in order for you to find soul love. Giving to yourself, the most important person in the world, you. And it's not a selfish thing. It doesn't come from ego. It comes from love. It comes from compassion, humility. It's providing for yourself in a way where you become strong enough to withstand the good and the bad. And it's extremely important. It also helps you find yourself and knowing what makes you happy and what doesn't, and to be able to have the courage to walk away from the things that don't make you happy, regardless whether or not you may be hurting somebody else, or may have people forming opinions about you that aren't necessarily true. Just regardless of how it's going to affect someone else, first and foremost, you really have to take care of yourself. You really have to have self-love. Without it, you're always going to be putting other people ahead of you. You're never really going to be happy. You're not going to know how to deal with difficult situations that come up in life, because they're always going to come up. You're always going to have difficult situations. But you're going to have good situations too, and a lot of that has to do with what are you bringing into your world, who are you inviting in your life, what types of opportunities or situations are coming up based on the way that you're living your life. And a lot of that has to do with self-projection, and which opportunities are you even paying attention to. So yeah, soul love, extremely important. SOULAMOUR, you gotta have it, you gotta find it, you gotta embrace it, and you gotta grow it.